pen run out? You need another one? Yeah.
Of course.
This is how you pick up new pens every meeting you come to.
That's right.
I think Angie Tisdale's meeting is, her last meeting is tonight. Yeah, she was an interim who expires
I didn't know
on
that.
the 31st of July. I had to
Okay.
check with Rosemary because I thought it was coming up, and
Oh.
we want to make sure if there's a vacancy that we let the public know, and
She didn't want to
she did not want to renew.
So is it 2 years or 4 years terms?
She filled in for some reason,
It's for when you're,
Four.
for a full term, it's 4
Oh,
years.
4 years,
But
yeah.
unless,
but she was interim.
if, so whoever would fulfill the rest of her term? Or
No, I think the chair, it's vacant, and then they might, oh, I'm sorry. Good evening. I'd like to call to order the 23rd July meeting of the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. My name is Patrick Raftery. I'm chairman of the board. I'd like to introduce the other volunteer members of the advisory board. To my left is Martin Armstrong. On my immediate right is Kelly Kelly. On her right is Angie Lonesome. And to her right is a new member of the group that we'd like to welcome tonight, Candace Gardner. I'd also like to take the opportunity now to have Candace introduce herself and tell us a little bit about herself and primarily what motivated her to volunteer to join the board, if you would.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say I was on this board from 2009 to 2017, and I love being on the board, and that's why I thought I want to get back on the board. And of course, yes, I loved it so much, and I enjoy working and being a volunteer, and I'm looking forward to hearing all the new and exciting new things that you've been doing on the Parks and Rec Board.
Absolutely. Well, welcome, and thank you for volunteering.
Thank you.
If anyone would like to speak tonight on an item that's on the agenda, we have copies of the agenda that are available to you. And if you'd like to speak on an item that is not on the agenda, we would ask that you approach the podium, give us your name, and please be mindful of the fact that your speaking is for 3 minutes only. We will call the agenda items, and you may approach at that particular time. The first thing on the agenda is to approve the minutes of April 23rd, 2024 that have been issued to us. Are there any corrections or changes required by the board to those minutes? If not, may I have a motion for the minutes to be approved?
I make a motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting.
Second, please.
I second.
Second, very good. They are approved. Oh, I'm sorry. All in favor of the minutes being approved, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you very much. At this time, I'd like to move to item number 3, which is citizens to be heard regarding items that are not on the agenda. As I said, if you'd approach the podium, give us your name and restrict your comments and presentation to 3 minutes, we would appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Rafferty, members of the board. Good to see you, Candace, again. I talked to the board in your last meeting, and at that time, I suggested that our landscape medians needed to live up to our city motto, which is, of course, bright and beautiful from the bay to the beach. And there has been some progress on that. These are 2 pictures of the North Greenwood MLK medians near the rec center. However, a little farther up the street, we have medians that are still looking like this and have not been renovated. I found a book, actually recommended by my pastor, which is called Be Our Guest. It's about Disney. And in this section, in the one section of the book, it talks about their managing the setting for their operation. And they say that the managing the effect of the setting on the guest experience can be summed up in 2 words: everything speaks. For Disney, everything speaks means that every detail sends a message to guests, and also perhaps it could to residents as well. And further, Disney says that message must be consistent with the common purpose and the quality standard that applies throughout the organization. So let's look at a couple of our examples, particularly in Coachman Park. And in Coachman Park, it was suggested to me that I go down and look at the restrooms at the next to the splash pad and the playground. And I opened the door, and this is what I saw in them. I just remind you, these are only 13 months old. I showed this to my daughter, and she said, I wouldn't take my toddler in there. On the front near the door to the library, landscaping is missing from below the palm trees, and you can see that the lights, several lights are broken. In this one, this is a dead plant. There's no landscaping in this area. Some of the landscaping has either died out or been removed or whatever. Another area. And I think everybody has a part, and I'd like to be a part of the volunteer program for the parks. And I picked up after myself. So the question for you is it appropriate to advise the council as it sets the budget to provide some more resources to the Parks Department? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. This topic was discussed at our last meeting on the 23rd of April, and it did relate to the current budget at that time for the landscaping in the area. I did take these pictures that were sent to me as well and forwarded them to the Director of Parks and Recreation, Art Cater, and perhaps now would be a good time for him to give us any comments or input he might have relative to the landscaping as we are now in the budget preparation process, as well as specifically the condition of the bathrooms at the Coachman Park. So if Mr. Cater, if you could make a few comments to this, I'd appreciate it.
Well, certainly, seeing pictures like that embarrass me, and I don't certainly want our restrooms to look that way at Coachman. Unfortunately, those restrooms are actually the flooring on there. They put a product that they should not have put, and it's still under warranty. We're still trying to fix that with the contractor. One of the reasons we delay in doing a lot of the work out there is because things have a warranty period, and even with the plant materials. If we go and start, replacing things or doing things to, it basically the warranty goes away. Mm-hmm. For example, I've been itching to get in there and put in the nice, flooring in that restroom area for a year now, which we put in all of our restrooms, which is an epoxy flooring, which, right, should have been put in the first place. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, they were in a budget. Again, that's, another department that handled the construction. It was a very difficult job as far as keeping it within budget. And I think there were some things that they value engineered out, and perhaps this might have been one of them. I will say that it will be corrected and it will be fixed. Unfortunately, too, those 2 restrooms that you saw, restrooms are the 2 that are by the playgrounds that are the heaviest used, and you go there anytime you're standing, yep, in line, which is so unfortunate. Yep. And we are looking at hopefully getting a CIP project to install some additional restrooms on that side of the park. We do open the restrooms at the Baycare Sound. They're open every day, 365 days a year, except for when they're having a concert or performance, so that we can meet the needs of the public out there, because 2 restrooms just do not fit the bill. As far as the landscaping, you're correct. There are some areas out there that do need to have refurbished landscaping, and since basically the warranty period is up and over, basically we will come in and we will be installing new plants in those areas. The light fixtures have been a problem. Kids have just kicked them over. We have something like, you just saw a few of them, but there's 60 of them that are broken like that. And again, we have to get an electrician to come in and do those repairs on those lights. Building and maintenance is aware of it. They've ordered some additional lights, and hopefully we'll be installing and fixing all of those within the next 2 to 3 weeks. Ideally, what would be good in the park would be actually in-ground lights, because then you don't have the vandalism, people,
Right.
kicking them over, those types of things. And also the in-ground lights, you can actually change the colors for seasons and things like that. We tried to do that with the existing lights for this last Christmas, and we put kind of cellophane over them and kind of melted. It didn't work real good. So the suggestion is to put glass over them this year. But ideally, it would be those in-ground lights. Unfortunately, we've already costed that out, and it's very expensive to replace all those lights. Could be anywhere from $250,000 to $300,000 with in-ground lights. So we're aware of those situations, and to speak to the Martin Luther King medians, Mr. Johnson is absolutely right. We were able to complete a portion of that project. We know that it needs to be completed to its fullest. We moved off of there and went on to another priority project, and we do know that. It's on our schedule to go back and to finish that up.
Right. I'd like to make a couple of comments on both of those topics. The first one is relative to Coachman Park, because I think all of us believe it to be our downtown gem, and it's only 13 months old, and we do want to make sure that it's kept up to the standards for not only us to enjoy it, but for visitors to enjoy it. And like any place you visit, if you see it not being well maintained,
Yes.
you don't get a very good impression, and this is our gem, quite frankly. I did have one question relative to the bathrooms outside of the construction question. Are the bathrooms maintained to where, just from people not keeping them cleaned up or messing and so forth, does someone go in there and check them and clean them up?
There is a schedule, and they are supposed to be going in there. I don't know just every hour. I think it's every 2 hours that they
Okay.
go in there and clean them up and check them. There is someone at the park every day,
Okay.
365 days a year. They work 10-hour shifts, and they basically work the area from downtown, Coachman Park, all the way out to Crest Lake
Okay,
Park. If you've gone down Cleveland Street and looked at all the new landscaping, there's over a mile basically on both sides of the road. So you're talking about 2 miles of additional landscape material and sidewalks that they have to basically blow off and keep clean and weed and edge and everything else. It looks very nice.
Yep.
If you've not gone down there, you do need to take a trip down and just, go right down Cleveland Street. It's very nice.
yeah, when we had the grand opening of Coachman Park, one of the things that did strike me, we had a massive crowd at that time, was the inadequacy of 2 bathrooms in that area, despite the fact that they are open over at the Sound, and I thought this will be a definite task of the resource of that,
Yes.
to handle the people. And you are correct, lines do form, because I was in that line, quite frankly, at one time. So perhaps that will help alleviate the problem. And then I think if we just try and emphasize the need for those attendants to pay special care that those bathrooms look good, because just like when we go to a restaurant, if you go to a restaurant and you go into the bathroom and it's just a mess, it's kind of like, this is a mess, how about the food preparation, the food area and stuff like that? And again, this is our gem. So hopefully there can be some action taken. When Bill sent me those photographs, I couldn't believe it, quite frankly, so hopefully we'll be able to correct that. With respect to the landscaping, we talked about this back on our April 23rd meeting, and we are now in the budget preparation stage and so forth, and I know that it's a resource allocation of funds and people to do it, but is the budget that's being discussed or under review at the present time, in your opinion, adequate for the landscaping to be done to make, the city's entranceways, particularly on Gulf to Bay, attractive to not only the residents, but visitors that come here as well?
I think we have, from a budgetary standpoint, the budget is adequate to be able to beautify that which we have the resources and people to do.
Right.
To answer your question. I would love to have more money to do more landscaping. If you can do that, not only with your own in-house staff, which we have,
Right.
but also with, going outside and contracting that out. Obviously, you can throw a lot of money at contracting it out,
Yep.
but then you still have to maintain whatever you put in. One
Yep.
plant more means one more to maintain. It's
Right.
one more to fertilize, water, trim, edge, whatever the case may be. So, I wouldn't, our department right now, if you saw the budget presentation, I'm gasping back there because of how much it is. It's the second largest department in the city.
Yep.
Much of that has to do with the capital projects that we have, like the Long Center, which is
Right.
up to almost $14 million now. And those things make our budget look very, very large, or largesse. So I think we're also we've applied for, sent a letter into FDOT for funding for 2 of the medians for the Missouri Avenue, as well as for the Drew Street interchange, both of those. I don't have the schedule here as to when they will either have our application in or will be awarded. And if it's a long period of time, we may have to get in, because I know we were going to go back to the Drew Street Exchange and do some work in there to put some more landscaping in there.
Okay.
Okay. So, it would be nice to have, but I can't,
Right.
I know that the council has an awful lot of decisions to make. And, from that perspective, I think our budget is adequate to meet the needs that we have right now.
I'd also like to remind the board members, if you care to do it, that the city is sponsoring 2 budget review events that the public can attend and comment upon. I believe one is September 4th and one is September 14th, budgets to be finalized October 31st. And I think it always helps, with respect to Parks and Recreation, if a board member also is able to speak in person at those meetings with an emphasis on, in my opinion, the landscaping that needs to be done, because it does say something about our city. So hopefully board members might take advantage of doing that as well. Are there any questions or comments from the board members on this topic before we move on?
Yes.
I thought so.
I'm getting you back for that.
Thank you.
Is it possible to get some of the clubs involved to adopt medians on a particular street, or a gardening club or something like that they can plant things?
We have tried to adopt a median program. I know they're very successful, or have been in Largo with their program down there. Right now, we do not have our volunteer coordinator has resigned, so that position needs to be filled, yes. And that would be the individual that would be working on getting some of those, to be adopted. And certainly if you adopt something, you're asking somebody to pay money for that, and you want to make sure that it is landscaped very well. Because
Yeah.
if I was an adopter, I would certainly want it to be beautiful and landscaped well. But that is a great idea. We tried it in the past, and it was not as successful as we thought it would be, so.
Is it something that can be publicized? Or?
We can certainly publicize it. It's similar to what we have is like the giving wall that we just installed at Crest Lake Park. It's a beautiful wall and is there for people to be able to donate funds and money and get a plaque on it, and to show how you care for the city and how you care for Parks and Recreation. It's in memory of other people. So it just started, so we're pushing that out as best we can, but if people don't know about it.
Along those lines, I did ask a question on Facebook under the comments as to the bronze, silver, and gold or
Gold and
whatever it was.
bronze, silver, gold, and platinum.
Platinum. Are they different colors? In other words, I know there's different.
They're all different colors.
They're all different colors, okay. See, I never got an answer to my question, so.
Well, they're
I
all
never-
different colors, and they will be able to be installed, not necessarily in certain sections.
Yeah.
When you go into certain areas, you'll see them but it literally will be on the wall, and they will be placed, they're rectangles, like bricks, placed on the wall, but you'll be able to see the difference in them.
I personally thought that was a great idea, and I think Coachman Park should have one too, but there were others that didn't feel the same, so I guess you can't please everybody.
I think the median's maintained by businesses. You notice that in Largo when you drive through there, the little
Yes.
median got a business sign. Is that something that would be more successful, or has it been tried on the medians on Gulf to Bay where there in fact are businesses?
Right.
Was that?
We can certainly look at that.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I think in Coachman Park, it would be volunteers willing to do it, but perhaps on Gulf to Bay, it might be businesses willing to do it, where they post their little sign about this median provided or maintained by so forth, which you said.
Absolutely.
And perhaps we can mention that to the council when we have an opportunity as well.
Okay.
Very good. Any other comments or questions from the board? Are there any other citizens to speak on items that are not on the agenda? If not, we will move on to item number 4, new business items. 4.1 is the Coachman Park amenity discussion. And I'm not certain who added that item, but I have a guess.
I added that
Thank
item.
you.
Yes, because I had a lot of people coming up to me saying, there is no shade, no seating in Coachman Park. Well, I had another person suggest chess tables and benches being installed, but I attended 2 of the 3 of the last events at Coachman Park. Now, we had a wonderful time at the 4th of July. I don't know what the numbers were, but that was very well attended. But the 2 events prior to that, which were Cinco de Mayo and the Coachman first anniversary, I went at the very beginning, so I don't know what it was like after I left, but people were huddled in these tiny little patches of shade, and it was hot. It was blazing hot. So is there anything that can be done, like shade, structures, benches, rather than having people sit under a bush, anything like that?
It all depends, it's just resources, it's money, to be quite honest with you. And we do have some capital projects. One of the things we don't have, you built a brand-new park and we spent, I'm not sure exactly how much we spent, but it's quite a bit. And then all of a sudden, you realize we got to maintain it. And things will, basically fall apart, and you'll need to be putting money in. Now, we did put maintenance money in, for instance, to replace the landscaping and those types of things, the lights, when they break down. As far as new, there is not a CIP specifically for new amenities out there. We've noticed the same thing. Everybody else has. It is hot. There needs to be more shade. Certainly, we can wait for 20 years to get the trees up, and we'll have a lot of shade out there.
Right.
But, so we're looking at how we can accommodate that. Now, one of the things, it's a small little thing, but it's what you call misters, and putting misters around the park. Have you ever done that, where you walk through and there's little sprays,
Like at Busch Gardens.
Yeah. And so we're looking at installing a whole set of misters throughout the park, which would help at least cool you for a little bit. It won't get you out of the sun. So we're aware of that. We're also aware of there's not enough water fountains, and so we're installing some water fountains, not enough restrooms. We are budgeting for the restrooms, and hopefully that'll get passed. I think it will, for the park.
Sounds good.
I think if I'm not mistaken as well, the Friends of Coachman Park has been dissolved for lack of interest or lack of participation, I think. Is there a group that would be considered, that not necessarily to think of events that could be put there, but would look at the park itself to say, we need to be focused on things that need to be addressed on behalf of our residents, like the shade, like the misters, like the landscaping and things like that. So their focus would be on, we've been there now for 13 months, here's things that need to get done, and we need to, as a group, bring that forward to the council, rather than rely upon the Parks and Recreation staff, which are spread enough as it is, to be focused on trying to take care of those things as well. Is there any idea to replace the Friends of Coachman Park with any type of citizen resident group that could?
Well, I think there's certainly a room for that, to be
Okay.
sure. Certainly, this is the key group right here to start with, is the
Okay.
Recreation Parks Board, and you are the ones that give advice and guidance to the council.
Okay.
It is, you are their board.
Right.
As far as for recommendations and those types of things.
Okay.
We have recognized the shade issue. Matter of fact, in the playground, needs shade as well, because
Yes,
it's
it does.
very hot, you know.
Very. I
Now-
can't go to the splash pad without bringing an umbrella with me. Like,
I know.
it's-
I know, children love it, but, you know, at least, and then they
It's
can go to
hot.
the
It's
splash
very
pad,
hot.
they're
Yeah.
okay with that. But it is a large park, it's very,
Oh, yeah.
very big. And so it's certainly something to look at,
Okay.
something that I think they know, the council members are aware of the needs, some of those needs that are out there. And it's just a matter of addressing them.
Okay.
Okay,
Very
and
good.
that would be required, that would be budget. And you asked me about the landscaping, I think we're okay there. Additional money for something like additional structures like that. Shade structures, everything is so expensive now. Just extremely expensive.
Would a plaque wall, are you just kind of waiting to see how it goes at Crest Lake before maybe adding one to Coachman?
Could be. I tell you what we can do, we do have a program that it's a bench, park benches. We have limited, I think, 20 new park benches for Coachman Park. Can be in honor of someone just bought their first one, and it was in honor of their dog that they loved and that they walked in that park and they enjoyed it, you know, just the time they have. So they purchased that, and that will be installed in the park.
At
So there's
Crest
things like that. Like maybe a shade structure. We used to have a gift catalog many, many years ago. And I've been here for 46, so you got to realize that I can't remember whether it was the 15th year, the 20th year, or whatever, but it was a gift catalog, and it had different things that were there that people could, you know, donate to the city. And that was another way that we funded certain capital items we had.
Any other questions or comments on that particular item? If not, we will move on to 4.2, which is the Parks and Recreation Project Update Report dated July 2nd.
Yeah, in your package, you do have the CIP updates, some that I just want to just give you additional information. The State Street Park, we're certainly working with that homeowners association there. We installed a fence in the park to basically, if you've ever been out there, it's wide open. There's an awful lot of wooded areas that are north of State Street Park, and people kind of come and go wherever they want. So we wanted to delineate where the park was so that we could protect it and preserve it. There are motorcycles and things like that that have been driving through there and tearing it up. So we put that there, and all of a sudden, one day a resident walks and they can't get through because there's a gate there, or there's a fence there. So I just wanted you to be aware of that. Basically, the neighborhood is excited about the new development. The development will be very natural. It'll be natural trails through there. And very little amended, maybe some picnic tables, a picnic shelter, and that's really all and they wanted natural signage, you know, as far as environmental signage. And so it's going to be a different kind of park, be kind of like a moccasin lake in a way. No birds.
Right. I had a question on the Moccasin Lake Bridge repair, and I think it's relative to when they tore down the pavilion, they were going to try and complete that trail loop. Has that been completed? Because I thought I saw a note from a meeting of the Moccasin Lake Nature Park Friends where there were some questions about the trail loop, and I don't know if it was relative to that pavilion area or something different. Are you aware of anything?
Yeah, the Moccasin Lake, we did. We removed the old structure that was out there. That has
Right.
been demolished and removed. We have extended the trail. Basically, we dug out the trail, put a rock base in there, and we were waiting for the shell to go on top of it. Because I walked the new trail when they didn't have any shell, and
Okay.
it's pretty tough.
Yeah.
And I had tennis shoes on, so that they're installing the shell now. So
Okay.
that trail probably will be, as soon as we get the next load of the shell, it will be completed, which
Okay.
probably be the next 3 to 4 weeks.
Okay, yeah, that
Yeah,
sounds
the
good.
other things that I was going to comment on, basically the milling and the repaving of the parking lots, all of them are done, even Country Hollow and Forest Run. When we wrote this, they were not, they are now. And then the McKay Park, basically, we're just waiting for permits and for Swift Mud to sign off on the permit. And we're thinking that'll be in 2 to 3 weeks, and construction will begin.
I don't think it's listed as a project, but I also, residents have come to me and tell me they have started to see the new signage going up in our parks.
Oh, yeah.
Particularly, the ones that most recently mentioned to me was at Forest Run and so forth. And we know that that was a significant project undertaken to replace, update them and so forth. And apparently that's now in process, and it'll take a while, but at least the ones that are being put up are evidently quite attractive and quite well done, so.
Thank you for bringing that up, and you're absolutely right. It's a process, and it'll take us several years, but we are going to change out all of the park identification signs, as well as the interior signs, which are rule signs, those types of things. It's very beautiful if you've not seen them.
Yep, very nicely done.
I just reviewed them for Bayview Park, which is a park that's on the far western side of the city, right on US, well, not Gulf to Bay, basically. So to the right there. And it's a beautiful little park, and there's an awful lot of history there. So I saw the signage there. They have history, they have environmental, they have talks about the mangroves, talks about, a lot of things. It's a great
Right.
place for kids to go to be educated. So I'm excited about those signs.
Any additional comments or questions from the board on the project?
I almost hate raising my hand.
That's what you're here for, no problem.
Sorry, that brought up another question. First of all, thank you for the restroom at Enterprise Dog Park. I haven't gotten a chance to
Yeah.
express my appreciation. The signage, the new signage, is it the name signs that are being replaced, like
Yes, they're the
Prospect?
AD, yes, they could be like, that Enterprise Road Dog Park. So it's a new
Okay.
sign. It's all the old wooden type signs. Most of them are all rotten and falling apart, if you've
The
noticed
worst,
them.
the
They just
worst
don't
one
look
was
good.
that Prospect downtown.
Glenwood Park
yeah.
was the first sign that we actually put up, so it is up in that neighborhood right now.
So I just had one question about Edgewater Drive project. I mean, say you got a grant, whatever it was, what's gonna be done there?
Where?
Edgewater?
Edgewater Drive, what we're looking at, it's a beautiful park. It is well-used. It actually connects, as you know, with the Dunedin, Edgewater Drive Park. And it traverses, many people come, that little parking lot. What we hope to do is to expand the parking there to allow more people. Right now, it's just a mess because people are parking everywhere. And if you look at it, you talk about sign clutter. Last time I counted, there's like 13 signs in this one little 7-car parking lot. I mean, about everything you can imagine. But we want to expand the parking lot. We would like to look at the trail system, which is the sidewalk. We'd like to be able to widen it if we have enough funds. I don't know that we will. And then the other large thing that we're going to do is to put in an observation dock. I think it's an 80-foot dock that will go out into the intercoastal for people to be able to enjoy that. So that's what that project is.
Nice, thank you.
If there are no more questions or comments, I'll move on to the next item. Item number 5, old business items. We have none listed, and I have a couple I want to bring up, but I'll wait for the director's report as he might address them. If not, I'll ask them at that time. So, having said that, let's move on to the director's report.
Okay, the first thing I have is that, and you've already shared this, the Parks and Recreation budget proposal is in, and that there is a special meeting on August the 14th at 9 a.m. That the citizens can come to and share, and it's a special meeting with the city council. So I would encourage you to do that. For your information, we are not requesting any more full-time equivalent employees. There is, you will see there's a .3 person. I don't know how you get a .3, but you do. And that is going to be funded by JWB funds. So that was included in the budget. So that is an additional position, but it's not funded through general fund. So that was accepted. Other than that, there's no other full-time employees that come here. The other thing you're going to see in the budget, and what I need to do, and I will get you a copy of that. If you don't, it's available online. You know, you can see our budgets, but perhaps if I could just copy the pages that, you know, because it's a big budget, that basically deal with Parks and Recreation, and I'll make sure that you get that within the next couple of days, and I will email that to you so you know exactly what we're requesting in the budget. There are a lot of CIPs. Again, mainly it is the Long Center budget that has driven that up so much. The second thing is that the Parks and Recreation Administrative Offices, you've obviously heard, hopefully there will be a new city hall here soon. They're also going to be renovating the MSB, which is where we are located, where many of the city departments are located. And they hope to begin that in November of this year, November, December. So that means that we will be moving out temporarily for 7 to 12 months. And we will be relocated to the old countryside library.
Oh,
So
okay.
that'll be our new home away from home until they get all the renovations done there. I don't know where you're going. You're not going anywhere yet. She's going into the new building, so anyway. So I wanted y'all to know that and be aware of that, and so that'll be occurring. Probably we'll have one more meeting before that, and we can keep you up to date on that. The third item is that we did receive $200,000 FERDAP grant for Edgewater Drive Park. We did get the letter that has been, that we did receive that, and we're successful at that, so that'll be very good. That's good news. Next, we've had a very successful summer. Our summer camps have been full the entire summer. We've been, knock on wood, we just got our first case of lice. Usually you have a lot more than that, but you got to figure you're having 6 different camps out there. So that is good news, believe it or not. And it's all taken care of. Everybody's good. Everybody's cut their hair and they've washed up, and so it's okay. But no one's has gotten injured or hurt during this summer, and that's good. When you're dealing with that many children through the summertime, you know, we have excellent people that have working this and recreation, and I'm just very proud of them and proud of what they do. And school, that means that school will soon be starting. So I think it's August 12th.
Yes.
Is that what it is? Yeah, August 12th for our teachers. And the Long Center pool, mentioned it a couple of times. Obviously, we will need to be, we're gearing up to close that down. It'll be closed down right after the first of the year. In January, there's one meet that has to be held. I think it's on January, I might have wrote it down, January 6th or 7th. After that, they will be shutting it down. We will then be moving all of our swim programs to Ross Gordon and to Morningside. So both those programs will have heated pools. So they will have basically move all of our lap swimming, our team swimming, our lessons will be moved there temporarily until the Long Center is completed. And that is the end of my report. Available for any questions you might have.
I did have a couple items that hopefully you'll be able to give us an update on. The first of that is the Friends of Moccasin Lake Nature Park, I believe that we were engaged with the Tampa Bay Raptors Birds of Prey to have a contract with them. And has that all been finalized and taken care of, or is it still being negotiated, or what is the status of it?
It is still being negotiated. We are still working with their attorney,
Okay.
and they have yet to sign the agreement yet, so we are trying to work that out, and hopefully it'll be done. I wished it had been done 6 weeks ago.
Oh, yeah.
But we're still working on that and still very hopeful that we can arrive at an agreement. For your information, there have been some tree limbs that have fallen on some of their, the mews is what they call them.
Yep.
We call them cages, but they're for the birds. And so we are going to be repairing those at least back into the same condition they were before
Right.
the trees fell on them. So we'll be doing that, I think, in 2 weeks is when they're
Okay.
going to be getting those done.
Very good. Another item that I think is still open for us is the 15-year Parks and Recreation Master Plan. Has it been finalized to the point where it can be presented either to this board or to the council and then this board and so forth?
Absolutely. We will do that at your next meeting here.
At the
Present
next
final
meeting?
one. Yes.
Okay. And then the last, not the last thing, but one other question I had is, I believe we are undertaking a review of the Ruth Eckerd Hall contract as to how it might be changed, suggestions by them, suggesting by the citizens, by the city of Clearwater to make changes. That's still ongoing, but those would have to be brought to the council for discussion and approval if there's any amendments to be done.
That is correct. And that amendment is coming before the council, the first meeting in, what's it, we got August? No, it's the second meeting in August. I don't know what date that is, but
Okay.
it's. 15th. Okay, 15th. Yeah.
Okay. And that was all the items that I had to bring up. Does anybody have another item that they would like to bring up, old or new business, for input from the director? Good to go? All right. Moving on to item number 7, this is where each board member will have an opportunity to make a statement or suggest something, whatever. So we will start with Marty Armstrong on this.
I don't have anything this time.
Okay, Angie?
I don't have anything at this time.
If I'm not mistaken, however, I think this is your last meeting.
Yes, it is.
That is.
Mhm.
And I want to thank you for volunteering and for your participation, as this is a volunteer position and does require you to attend meetings and so forth. And I want to thank you personally, and I'm sure the board does as well. And to the public, because you have elected not to be reappointed, we will then have an opening on the advisory board that I would encourage members of the public to consider applying for that, particularly younger people that have children that would use the parks, or people that are using the parks on a regular basis that can give us some input as to what's going on with respect to the parks and recreation facilities that they're able to take advantage of. But once again, thank you very much for your service. Kelly?
Surprisingly, I have nothing else to add.
Are you certain?
I am.
I actually do.
Okay,
So we have 2 dog parks in the city, correct? Just the 2, the one in Crest Lake and the one in Enterprise. Are there any plans to increase that number at all? Would Bayview Park be an option? Because it's really hard to get from East Clearwater to West Clearwater or up to Enterprise to bring a dog, and
I know. I'm sympathetic with it, I am, but I'll tell you, if I put a dog park anywhere, I have 6 other neighborhood parks.
Parks that, yeah,
That
want
one.
the same thing,
That
go with the same
They
thing,
have
yeah.
asked for
Okay.
them. And I have said no to those, and, we can only maintain, dog parks,
They're hard.
They're hard.
They're inexpensive to put in.
Yes.
You just put in fence. However, they are expensive to maintain. You
Maintain,
have to
it's a
empty the
maintain.
garbage, you've got all the poop you gotta clean up, what dogs do is they dig holes, so you gotta repair
Yeah.
those.
It's a lot of work.
And And we've invested in two very, very nice, large dog parks. Actually, there are 5 runs at, different runs that are at Crest Lake alone. I know it's a distance to travel, but I do get requests almost weekly asking for a dog park. So I'm saying no.
Okay.
And, our direction, we're trying to maintain what we have rather
Yeah.
than
Right.
build new.
That makes sense, that makes sense.
It's
Of
just,
course it does.
right now, especially the way the costs are and,
Oh,
and-
yeah.
and the budgets are. And so that's where our focus is. But I'll remember it if we do. That'll be the 7th one, because that's the
No,
first
I
person
mean,
who's asked for
just
that.
at any place on the east side of Clearwater would be, I don't have a specific location in mind, but that area of Clearwater is underserved for things like dog parks and playgrounds and stuff like that, so I was just wondering.
Trust me, I would love to put one everywhere they ask, but,
It would be nice.
yeah.
My other question is, I think maybe about a year ago, I asked about, possibly putting in a sidewalk from the parking lot to the corner in Forest Run Park. And I was wondering if you followed up on it.
Did I miss that? I must have missed that.
It was a passing question, if you were gonna look into it, whether or not it could be done.
Did I write it down?
You did write it down,
I
but
did.
it was like my first or second meeting, so.
That's even worse, Okay, Forest Run, a sidewalk to,
From the playground, from the parking lot to the corner, because parents specifically use that parking
for the
lot.
school.
Yes, for school, and it would.
They use the parking lot to pick the kids up.
Yes.
Yeah.
They use it for drop off. There's a crossing guard posted there, so it is normally used.
And they're parking their vehicles on the side of the
they-
road?
Well, I mean, for the most part, people don't park their cars on the grass, like off the corner. They park in the parking lot and then take their kids, walk their kids across the overpass to take their kids to school.
Oh,
Because the parking lot is crazy.
Yeah,
It is
yeah.
nuts in there. I take my son to that school and it is nuts sometimes in the morning, especially at the beginning of the year. But it just to save the landscaping, because
Yeah.
especially because they're doing work now in that park.
Yeah.
But to save the landscaping, possibly, we were talking, you asked about, or you mentioned something about making sure it would be ADA compliant. And that would have been the only issue, like you were gonna look into it.
Well, I got it now because I have 3 other things I have to do for the board. So I've got them all. If I fail on this one, then I
Okay.
fail on them all. Y'all got to
Well,
fire
if
me
it doesn't
after-
get done, it doesn't get done. I just, I know that you're working on Forest Run now,
I
and
will now. Yes.
if it can be addressed for the landscaping, it would save the landscaping as well, because
Understood.
they cross straight over the dirt, and,
Yeah.
yeah.
And the other thing you could do for us as well, because I take pretty good notes, and I missed this one as well, and Forest Run Park is up where I live.
Yeah, I know.
You could make it an old business item on our agenda.
I will do that
every
next time.
Just throw it up there.
I will do that next time.
And that will allow him to give you a full report and take credit, or to say, I missed it again.
That's right. Thank
Thank you.
Yeah.
I will do that. I will do
you. I
that
need
next
all the
time.
help
Yeah.
I can get.
I'm gonna have to make a note in my phone, a
Exactly.
reminder for next time.
Yeah,
All right, I will do that.
very good.
That's all I got.
That's it, okay.
Yeah.
Candace, anything from you?
Well, I'm just listening, observing.
Okay. I guess the only thing I'd like to say is to encourage the residents of the city to bring matters to the attention of individual advisory board members to attend our meetings and make presentations to us, because the Parks and Recreation Department cannot be everywhere, every time, at all times, and input from the residents on the facilities is most helpful to us, and we just simply pass them on in collaboration with Parks and Recreation. So please keep those lines of communication open. Secondly, as I mentioned earlier, Ms. Tisdale is departing after tonight's meeting. That will leave us with a position open, and I would like to encourage members of the public to apply for a position on the advisory board, particularly in areas that are not really well represented at this time. And other than that, I have nothing further, and I will adjourn the meeting tonight.